It's how could two people that love each other so much be in friction, and for some relationships in constant friction? And that can be a really confusing place to be, because how is it that this person that I love more than anyone, I don't feel understood or seen, and they're telling me that they don't feel loved and appreciated, and yet they're the person who I love and care for the most? Welcome to the Lessons for Luca podcast. I'm your host, Michael DeSanti, author of New Man Emerging, transformational trainer and coach, and most importantly, I'm Luca's dad. I want to do an episode on relationships, and most specifically on marriage. And it's quite a common challenge for a lot of the clients that come to me, because being in friction in your marriage is a strange phenomenon. It's how could two people that love each other so much be in friction, and for some relationships in constant friction? And that can be a really confusing place to be, because how is it that this person that I love more than anyone, I don't feel understood or seen, and they're telling me that they don't feel loved and appreciated, and yet they're the person who I love and care for the most? And so I know that it's a huge challenge for a lot of people. So I want to do an episode to support in, ultimately, I want to help you divorce-proof your marriage. And I don't think that marriages fail due to lack of love. I think marriages fail due to lack of skill set and lack of quality communication. I wish I could say that for a thriving marriage, all you need is love, and that's going to fix everything. But the right person with the wrong skill set can become a nightmare. And if we could develop that skill set and actually have it feed our love and feed the environment of our marriage, we could take our marriages to a whole other level. I don't care if you've been married for 1 year, 10 years, or 50 years. And so that's the goal of this episode, because I see that this is a common challenge, and I've been on the other side of really bad breakups, and I now have a marriage I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. And when we look underneath the hood, I think there's some things that we could all develop that'll make our marriages more successful. If you ask people why people get divorced, most people will say infidelity or financial strain. And yet people and couples and marriages have survived infidelity and survived financial strain, been through hard times together, and yet somehow they come out of it. And there's some people where there is no financial strain and there is no infidelity, and they think the best thing to do is actually split. So when we look underneath the hood, there's a whole environment that's underneath the challenges here and the dynamic of the marriage, that if we can uncover them, if we could shine some light on them, and if we could develop skill sets to become more competent, that'll take our marriages to a whole other level. You know, the person you choose to marry is the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life. The person that you want to spend the rest of your life with has the influence over your state more so than anyone else. They can make your life a heaven on earth. They can make your life a living hell. And so that this decision is so important, because it's not just about love or even compatibility. When we marry people's history. We marry people's nervous systems. We marry their family and extended family. We marry their idiosyncrasies and their dynamics. And so to be able to look under the hood and really reveal the skills that it takes to have a thriving marriage, most of that comes down to quality communication. Love and respect and trust and honesty, these are all absolutely fundamental to thriving marriages. But if I can't communicate that, I'm always going to feel a state of frustration, because I'm not able to deliver what I'm feeling or what's happening for me internally, so much so that my partner can hear it, digest it, and be in that experience with me. So there's great research out of the Gottman Institute of something they call the 4 Horsemen of divorce. And I actually, if you stick around to the end, I actually think that there's 5. But what we're looking at is that underneath the hood, this is actually beyond infidelity or beyond financial strain or beyond anything. This is actually what's in the environment or in the context of marriages, and why they break apart, why they fail, why they divorce. The first horseman of divorce is criticism. Criticism, a lot of times people at first want to try and take criticism as feedback and improve, but If we swim in the water of criticism over and over and over again, what starts to happen is we start to feel as though it's a constant attack on our character. And if you want to wear someone down over time, continue to attack their character. Criticism is a constant blame on your partner. It's pointing the finger. It's constantly highlighting what they're not doing, picking them apart, nitpicking where they're falling short. And what starts to happen is people begin to shut down. People begin to feel undervalued, unloved, because I could do 9 things right, but you're highlighting the 1 out of 10 thing that I'm falling short on. And that temporarily might motivate and fuel someone, but over the long period of a marriage, that's actually going to diminish someone's spirit. Criticism, the attack on someone's character through criticism is to say, you didn't load the dishwasher again, you're so lazy. I'm now attacking someone's character, calling them lazy, highlighting where they keep falling short over and over and over again. The antidote to criticism is to turn it around, and rather than point finger, communicate your experience. And it sounds simple, but it's I feel and I need. I feel unappreciated when you don't load the dishwasher. And what I need is for you to remember so that it takes the strain off of me. I know it might sound simple, but what I'm doing is I'm diffusing the situation. I'm not attacking character. And I'm saying this is my experience. This is how this makes me feel. And I'm not just dumping that on my partner. I'm saying this is how I feel and this is what I need. I'm actually putting solution and remedy to it. And so now what I'm doing is something that's critical for all of relationships is I'm giving you a blueprint of how to be in relationship with me and how to love me best. So this is how this makes me feel, and this is what I need, or this is what I'm asking for. If we could do that rather than point fingers and criticize and attack each other's character, what that starts to do is over time, we develop blueprint for each other, and I know what's important for my wife. My wife knows what's important for me, and I'm constantly handing blueprint to her, and she's handing blueprint to me, and it's giving us something actually tangible and effective to navigate. So the first horseman that's underneath the hood of divorce is criticism. We can't attack each other's character consistently over time and expect the best of each other. Before I go on to the next one, I want to distinguish criticism from feedback. Criticism, like I said, it's designed to attack someone's character. Feedback is designed to give someone information or data so they can navigate more effectively. Feedback is like air traffic control giving a pilot information. You're a few degrees off here, a few degrees off here, let's steady it out. So feedback is neutral information that's designed to give someone blueprint to be more effective. It's really important, not only in our marriages, but in leadership, in our teams, to be open to feedback and to deliver feedback in such a way that people are gaining insight and information that here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm noticing, this is something that you may want to adjust. So criticism is not the same as feedback. Criticism is designed to tear someone down. Feedback is designed to uplift or even improve someone's way of operating. The second horseman of divorce is contempt. When we hold each other in contempt is really after respect and trust are lost or diminished in a marriage. Respect and trust in a marriage are really like oxygen to a fire. It's essential. Without oxygen, the fire goes out, and without respect and trust in a marriage, the energy of the marriage begins to diminish. And so when we hold each other in contempt after, respect or trust has been lost or broken or frayed or strained, it's really important that we're honest about it, but that we don't hold that over each other's head and weaponize that and hold contempt. Contempt is to hold someone that you're in a place of superiority. and that I look down upon you, that I don't respect you, I don't trust you. And I highlight that over and over and over again. It's like reminding someone of a transgression over and over and over again. I'm putting that person in a prison. I'm putting that person in a box. And until I let go of that superiority of contempt, they really can never climb out of it. So the remedy of contempt is to create in your marriage a culture of appreciation, to highlight the things that you admire, to highlight the things that you respect, to highlight the things that you appreciate in your partner, and not say them once, but say them and highlight them over and over and over again. I don't know your partner. You're listening to this podcast. It's a very good chance I've never met your wife or your husband or your partner. But what I do know about them, even though I've never met them, is you didn't marry a mind reader. You didn't marry someone that's going to know your every move, know your every emotion, know your every, understanding. I know that every partner at some point is going to fall short. I just know that. I know you didn't marry a mind reader. I didn't marry a mind reader. My wife didn't marry a mind reader. And there are going to be times when we fray that connection because I'm not perfect. My wife's not perfect. And I'll ruin the ending for you. You're not perfect. There's no perfect partner. And if I hold every infraction, every failure, every mishap, every shortcoming, if I hold my wife in contempt, if we hold our partners in contempt, we're putting them below us, we're putting them beneath us. And they can't climb out of that box. They can't climb out of that prison because we control the strings to it. And building a culture of appreciation is to be graceful and quick to forgive. It's not to forget or stuff down your emotion or your hurt or your disappointment. You have every opportunity and every right to communicate that. But thriving marriages require grace and forgiveness, trust and respect. And even if it's frayed, it's always an opportunity for us to raise our level of forgiveness, raise our level of grace, raise our level of respect and trust, even when it feels hard, especially when it feels hard. And so building that culture of appreciation, we start to put so many deposits into each other's emotional bank account when we highlight and communicate what we appreciate in the little things and in the big things, so that when we do fall short, which we will, that cup is so filled up or that account is so filled up with deposits that it's not some life-ending infraction. So the first is criticism and the second is contempt. When we hold each other in contempt, those are prisons that your partner cannot climb out of. The third is defensiveness. Defensiveness is really a self-protective mechanism so that the attention and the blame can never come on me. And what happens is when our partners are trying to communicate to us, we're actually in this protective mode where let me attack and strike back rather than actually listen and digest and be with the frustration of my partner or the challenge that my partner has or the experience that my partner is having in that moment. If I get defensive, my listening is going to go offline. My critical thinking is going to go offline because I'm going to be in this constant posture of deflecting and projecting and hoping that I'm not pointed out or my blemishes or my shortcomings aren't revealed. And so in that defensiveness, we are in this constant posture where nothing is really getting through. So slowing down, being critically thinking, being present, listening to understand before listening to respond. Many of us in our defensiveness, as our husbands or wives or partners are talking with us or expressing how they feel, and sometimes those are those challenging emotions of disappointment or anger and frustration. Most of us are actually unconsciously building our case rather than truly listening. We're waiting to prove our point and waiting to state our case rather than actually take in what our partners are genuinely experiencing in that moment. The other day, I had asked my wife if I had a challenge with you and I brought it to you this way and said, this is what I'm struggling with, what would be your response? And I thought my wife's response was absolutely brilliant. So I'm not even going to put my own spin on it. My wife said, I would simply say, I hear you. I'm sorry you feel that way. Tell me more. And how could I improve it? And that is actually the remedy, the antidote to defensiveness. I hear you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way. What could I do to improve it? How could I support? How can I help you make it better? And what that does is that drops these walls and it creates an opportunity where I don't need to personalize my partner's state, that I don't have to make everything my fault or personalize it and frame it in a way that if I'm to blame here or if I'm in the wrong, if it was something I did, that it's going to turn into this catastrophe. And worst case, you're going to abandon me or leave me and I'm going to lose love. I can actually be with that and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I hear it. Let me look at it in a different way. That my listening changes when my defenses are down. If we stay in that posture of defense, the best you're going to do is prove your case. And if we take that courtroom attitude into our marriages, maybe one of you wins. But in a marriage, when one person wins, the other person loses. And if the other person loses, you lose too. Marriages are only sustainable and thriving when we're both winning. That means we have each other's backs, we look out for each other, we're willing to put ourselves in each other's shoes, and it might not create agreement, but it can still create alignment. That I can see it from your perspective. It doesn't mean I give up, I agree, you're right and I'm wrong. It just means I have the willingness to see it from your perspective. Maybe we do come around into agreement, or maybe we don't agree, but we allow it to just be the way that it is as it is. That creates peace, that creates livability, that creates compatibility. Not everything in our marriages needs to fit in a clean, organized box. It simply doesn't work that way. As much as I love my wife, there is no way she will ever see the world exactly the same way I do. We have different histories, we have different fears, different shortcomings, different filters. And if we could allow that to be there without defensiveness, you create an opportunity for a thriving marriage. The fourth horseman underneath the hood of divorce is stonewalling. Stonewalling is typically when one person withdraws and then uses silence and space as a weapon. So if you think about some marriages and some dynamics, one person may tend to get louder, more excited, or more enthusiastic when they come into stress or conflict. And what that does is oftentimes someone will try to match that enthusiasm, or someone will just shut down and withdraw or withhold. And what happens there is we can't create communication because someone is so high and someone is just offline. But what happens over time is when the nervous system is activated, that stonewalling is a freeze response. And I really can't communicate what it is that I need, what it is that what I want, what I'm struggling with, what hurts, where I'm disappointed, where I'm frustrated. One partner might just shut down. But then what we do is we use that silence and that space as a weapon. And in that process of stonewalling, we can we tend to just, in our own way, shout louder. Some people shout louder with words. Some people shout louder with silence. And it creates this environment where this frustration and this friction just smolders over and over and over again. And the remedy to it is actually to take a break. If you're in friction, if you're in conflict, if your nervous system is activated, your critical thinking is offline. So you're not going to actually express yourself effectively. You're not going to get your point across. So it can be contrary to the old adage of marriage, like never go to sleep angry. Well, I might disagree with that to a point. Is not necessarily it has to be resolved before we go to bed, but we actually, in the middle of a conflict, take 20 minutes just to let your nervous systems reset. Go in the other room, go for a walk, go outside, go listen to music, and reset the nervous system so that that heightened activate state isn't the one that's communicating to your partner. When we are that activated, really what it is an old residual of our nervous system from when we were young and when we were immature, when we were growing, when we were hurt in somewhere in our point of origin. And that's what I'm trying to communicate in my marriage. That's never going to work. If I could take a break, slow that down, reset my nervous system, then come back together, that person or those people that come back together are different people than when they were activated. The challenge with taking a break is that sometimes people just leave it open-ended or they sweep it under the rug. So take 20 minutes and let your partner know, I need 20 minutes. I need some space. I need to just decompress. Let's revisit this later tonight. Let's revisit this tomorrow. Let's revisit this 5 days from now. I don't care, but you must revisit it. Don't just let it be in the ether of your marriage. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't ignore it. Don't just blow it off. You've got to, I don't mind couples that fight. I mind when couples don't reconcile. So that reconciliation is, I acknowledge what happened. I acknowledge what I said. This is what I was trying to say earlier. And giving yourself time for that nervous system to reset allows you to communicate way more effectively. So those are the 4 horsemen of divorce. I think over time, I've actually seen in my coaching and just over my practice over time that there really is a 5th too, which is the unequal distribution of load carry. You know, there's times in our marriages where I just find that it's rare that it's 50-50, that I carry the same load as my wife or that we carry the same loads and burdens. There are certain things in my marriage that I lead on. There's certain things in my marriage that my wife takes the lead on and she's responsible for. And they're not the same load or burden. They're not the same responsibilities. And oftentimes they're not 50-50. And that's natural. That's common. It's when that 70-30 or 80-20 or 90-10 stays too consistent, too constant for too long. If you think about years ago, my wife broke her knee during a ski accident. That was, at that time, that load carry was probably 95-5. And that's a temporary load carry. My wife couldn't move, she couldn't walk, she was bedridden. So I handled everything. Now, that with a broken leg is more than justifiable. But if my marriage is my wife doing all the cooking and cleaning and organizing and load carry, and I'm on the couch drinking a beer and watching TV, that's unsustainable load carry. That's not going to work over time, and it's only going to build resentment and frustration. Now, again, it's very rare that it's 50-50, but to be able to communicate, this is where I'm at. I'm coming up close to my capacity. I need some relief here and here. My wife and I remember after our son was born, when my wife would come home from work and I would be finished working, we would look at each other, say hello, give each other a kiss, and we would say, where are you at? And we would give each other a number from 0 to 10. I'm at a 7. I'm at a 4. I'm great. I'm at an 8 or a 9, or I had a really tough day, but I'm still at a 6. What we would do is we would just give each other blueprint of not trying to convert each other higher, but to say, if I knew my wife was at a 4, I knew I have to step it up. There's extra load for me to carry now that she's home. The little things that wouldn't annoy her on a regular day may actually be huge on a day like today where she's a 4. And so it just gave us extra blueprint on how to navigate, and if I needed to pick up some extra carry, pick up some extra load. And so in our marriages, if it's that unequal, that amount of time over and over and over again, it just simply builds resentment. It builds overwhelm. It builds too much stress. We want to remedy that with clear agreements and clear communication of where I'm at and when I'm coming to capacity. So those are what I would say are my 5 horsemen of divorce. I think when we go underneath the hood, it's easier to stay at the surface level of infractions, and he did this and she did this and I'll never overcome this. But if we actually go under the hood, if we really look closer at the environment that's underneath marriage, underneath communication, underneath skill set to be seen and heard and respected and trusted and appreciated, that's really where marriages become an absolute blessing in our life. People don't work harder when they don't feel appreciated. People don't go out of their way when they feel unappreciated. People will absolutely go the extra mile when they feel appreciated. And so marriages, when they're a culture of appreciation, an environment of appreciation, take our lives to a whole other level. And that's the skill set we want to develop together in our marriages, is how can I build a culture of appreciation so that we both feel seen, heard, respected, trusted, admired. And it just fuels the environment that we're living in every day. Every day. So this is where our marriages become the greatest blessings in our life. I hope this was valuable. I hope you were able to pull and extract something that you'll bring into your marriage, or potentially look back on, see where some of your relationship failures, maybe this was in the water and you just didn't even know it. So I hope it was valuable for you. I always appreciate you being here. Thank you for being on this journey with me. And until we see each other again, be a good man, live a good life, and determine each of those for yourself.